Here we are going to discuss the mechanism of this disease, how they hijack the cell receptors. So, particularly if we talk about the PA, this is known as the protective antigen and lethal factors, edema factors. In the blue color, they are edema factors. In the green color, they are lethal factors and protective antigen. They are going to bind with the cell receptors by hijacking them, and they take on their heads. You can see over here, they take on their heads lethal factors and edema factor, and by the process of endocytosis they go inside, and the edema factor causes the ATP to convert into cyclic AMP. And in the case of over here, the edema factor, they stop the signaling proteins known as the MAPKKS. They disable them, and ultimately it is going to cause the lethality in the animal cell. Sometimes the cell may die over here, and in case of the edema factor, why it is known as edema factor? Because it causes the edema ultimately at the end of its phases, right? If you talk about the clinical signs, so it differ from species to species, and there are three forms of illness: per acute, acute, and subacute chronic. And if we talk about the peracute chronic diseases, so in the peracute chronic diseases, there are certain type of the symptoms known as rapid onset. It is going to, if the animal is having the subacute infection of this disease, so the clinical signs are going to come up very soon. There's no any space between them, and it may cause a sudden death, right? It may cause the death of the animal. On the other hand, bloody discharge from the body orifices or natural orifices as well, and incomplete rigor mortis. If you wanted to understand what is rigor mortis, so you can study over here, right? On the other hand, rapid blot. Animal can acquire the blot as well. In case of the acute infection, so in case of this, fever, anorexia, on the other hand, muscle tremor, dyspnea, abortion, bleeding from orifices, hemorrhage, these are the things which are normal in case of this. In case of the chronic infection, which is common in the animals, pharyngeal and lingual edema, ventral edema, and in case of animal can feel asphyxiation. Asphyxiation means the less of oxygen they can feel, they can suffocate, and that ultimately cause the death of the animal. And treatment is successful if it is started in the initial stage. If we talk about the differential diagnosis, so what is the differential diagnosis? For example, if the case is going to come in the farm, in the clinic, and the veterinarian has to diagnose it. So at the first, we don't know the animal is suffering from the anthrax, Bacillus anthrax, because the symptoms sometimes have the similarity between each other. So due to the symptoms, a veterinarian just assume that there may be the black leg disease, there may be the botulism, there may be the poisoning, lightning strike, and peracute babesiosis as well. So from this all, we have to extract our information to the one thing. Yeah, what is the ultimate thing? So at the end of the day, at the end of the time, the veterinarian confirmed that there is a anthrax. So that is with the help of the differential diagnosis. In the diagnosis, these things are common: isolation of Bacillus anthrax. We have to take the Bacillus anthrax outside the animal cell, outside the animal body with the help of serology, ELISA, and nasal swabs. In case of the treatment, penicillin is common, ciprofloxacin is commonly used in the farm animals. On the other hand, the doxycycline, let me complete this name, right? Doxycycline, ciprofloxacin, and penicillin. In prevention and control, in the prevention, management is important. As we know that uh, prevention is better than cure, right? So animal, we have to take the animal, if the animal is contaminated with this, we have to take the animal out to from the herd, and we have to minimize the contact and not open carcass, vaccination of susceptible animals, and these are certain points which have to take in mind to make the animal safer from this disease. So I think this is all about the Bacillus anthrax. Hope you understand this. If you're new in this channel, subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much again.